such a noble, kind-hearted man would choose to leave so suddenly. As the sun set over the Potomac, the Clampetts gathered their belongings, their animals, and their spirits. They had not quite managed to save the country, nor had they secured a permanent residence in the White House, but they had maintained their dignity and their spirit. Jed sat on the edge of his bed, looking out at the city of Washington. He reflected on the strange ways of the city folk and the confusing nature of big city politics, concluding that, despite everything, the mountains were the only place where the air was truly clean and the people truly said what they meant. With the return of their fortune and their integrity intact, the family prepared for the journey home. They left behind a city that would be talking about the Clampetts for many years to come, a city that had been momentarily transformed by a group of people who possessed more genuine goodness than all the politicians combined. The adventure had been long, the lessons many, and the humor abundant. As they loaded their belongings back into the truck, Jed smiled to himself, happy to be returning to a place where he didn't need a deed to enjoy the beauty of the world. They were, at heart, still the same humble folks from the hills, ready to set a spell and take their shoes off, leaving the complicated world of Washington behind them, for there was no place like home. The sun rose over the hills of the Ozarks, casting a golden hue upon the modest cabin that Jed Clampett called home. Life for the Mountain family had always been simple and honest, filled with the quiet rhythms of nature and the steady labor of the land. Jed sat on the porch, his eyes reflecting the deep calm of the morning as he whittled a piece of cedar. By his side, the house cat chased a stray leaf, while the gentle sounds of the forest filled the air. It was a morning much like any other, until the day that would forever alter the course of their lives began with the thunderous roar of a machine in the distance. Jed stood up, his tall frame casting a long shadow, as he walked toward the clearing where he had been hunting for the evening meal. He checked his rifle, a piece of equipment as familiar to him as his own hand, and stepped cautiously through the underbrush. He was searching for a bit of game, nothing more, when the earth beneath his feet suddenly seemed to shiver. A geyser of black, thick liquid erupted from the ground, spraying into the air with a force that defied explanation. Jed stared at the bubbling crude, his mind racing to comprehend the sight before him. It was, as he would later describe it, the discovery of black gold, a bounty that would soon pull them from the comfort of their mountain home and into the bustling, strange world of California. The news spread through the kinfolk with the speed of a wildfire. There was talk of moving, of cities built on dreams and sunshine, of a place called Beverly Hills. They loaded up the old truck, a vehicle held together by hope and wire, and began the long journey westward. The hills faded behind them, replaced by the endless stretches of highway and the shifting promise of a new horizon. Every mile was a story, every stop a chance to wonder at the vastness of the world that lay outside their secluded valley. Upon arriving in California, the contrast was staggering. The quiet woods were exchanged for grand mansions, bustling boulevards, and people whose lives were guided by the fast pace of industry rather than the slow turning of the seasons. Jed remained the same man he had always been, grounded by the values of his upbringing. Yet he found himself navigating a society that often seemed as baffling as it was bright. His cousin Jethro, full of youthful exuberance and a boundless imagination, saw every day as a new adventure, while Granny kept a watchful eye over the household, her spirit as sharp as her wit. It was during one of their many attempts to adjust to this new life that the idea of the smog project took root. Jed had been listening to the reports, hearing the concerns of the people around him, and felt a stir of duty. He was a man who believed that if you had the means to help, you did so without hesitation. When the opportunity to contribute to the fight against air pollution arose, he did not see it as a political act or a grand gesture, but as a simple neighborly obligation. The confusion that followed, involving bankers, secret agents, and the comedic misunderstandings of a family unfamiliar with the complexities of the city, became the very fabric of their days. The project to combat the smog led them on a path that culminated in a surreal journey to the capital. They were driven by a genuine, earnest desire to do good, to offer their resources for the benefit of the many. Along the way, they met characters who spoke in riddles and schemes, yet Jed saw only the humanity beneath the surface. He was a man of unfailing kindness, and he assumed that everyone else operated from the same place of integrity. This faith, while often leading to humorous situations, also served as a shield, protecting the family from the cynicism that so often colored the world around them. In Washington, the scale of the world seemed to expand even further. The grandeur of the monuments and the weight of the history surrounding them were not lost on the Clampetts. They walked the streets with a sense of wonder, their presence a curious anomaly in the structured heart of the nation. They were always themselves, never swayed by the expectations of those who sought to categorize or control them. They brought with them the warmth of the mountains, a refreshing sincerity that resonated with the very people who were meant to be the most guarded. The adventures in the capital, from the comical attempts to purchase landmarks to the mistaken identity at the gates of power, served to highlight the core of who they were. They were not seeking fame, nor were they looking to accumulate influence. They were simply a family who had stumbled into a situation they didn't fully understand, handling it with the only tools they possessed: common sense, loyalty to one another, and a relentless optimism. Even when confronted by those who sought to deceive them, Jed met the challenge with a disarming honesty that turned even the most calculated plans into lessons in grace. As the days turned into weeks, the family began to see the world not just as a place of strange buildings and hurried faces, but as a mosaic of individual lives, all striving for something better. They realized that whether in the hills of the Ozarks or the halls of government, people were essentially the same. They shared the same hopes, the same worries, and the same need for belonging. They found that the true value of their wealth was not in the gold or the influence, but in the connections they formed and the laughter they shared along the way. The journey back to the hills was as reflective as the trip to California had been momentous. They carried with them a lifetime of memories, a collection of stories that would be told for generations by the fireside. They returned not as individuals changed by the world, but as a family strengthened by the knowledge of their own resilience. They remained the mountain folk they had always been, their hearts anchored by the values that had guided them before the first drop of black gold had ever touched the surface of their quiet earth. Life settled back into its comfortable pattern, but it was enriched by the breadth of their experiences. Jed continued to whittle on the porch, his hands steady and his spirit at peace. He looked out over the hills, knowing that while the world was indeed vast and filled with complex questions, the most important answers were found in the quiet moments of love and the unwavering support of one's own kin. They had seen the bright lights and the grand cities, but they had learned that there was no place quite like home, and no treasure quite as valuable as the peace of a life lived well and truly. The legacy of their time in the city was not in the buildings they had tried to buy or the projects they had sought to fund, but in the spirit they had left behind. They had reminded those they encountered that there is power in simplicity and strength in kindness. They had navigated a world of noise with the quiet confidence of those who know exactly who they are. And as the sun set once more over the cabin, casting long, familiar shadows across the porch, the family sat together, content in the knowledge that they had stayed true to themselves through it all. The story of the Clampetts became more than just a tale of wealth or migration. It became a testament to the enduring nature of found themselves in the bustling heart of Washington District of Columbia. The air was thick with the scent of history and the faint, unsettling odor of the very smog they had come to battle. Jed Clampett, a man of simple virtue and profound integrity, stood tall, his gaze fixed upon the grand architecture that defined the nation's center. Behind him, Granny clutched her satchel of herbs, her eyes sharp and suspicious, while Ellie Mae cradled a small, fragile creature she had rescued near the Lincoln Memorial. Jethro, ever the enthusiastic, if slightly misguided, innovator, was busy sketching diagrams in the dirt, his mind racing with dreams of steam-powered carriages and electric inventions that would surely revolutionize the world. The journey from their humble mountain home to the corridors of power had been long and winding, a testament to their unwavering spirit. Jed had set out with a noble purpose, armed with his wealth and a genuine desire to contribute to the greater good. He believed, with the quiet conviction of an honest man, that the smog which plagued the city could be defeated by the combined power of human intellect and resources. Yet, the city of Washington was a labyrinth of complexities, far removed from the straightforward rhythms of their mountain existence. Every corner turned revealed a new bureaucratic hurdle, every conversation a dance of double meanings and subtle deceptions that the Clampetts navigated, with a mixture of confusion and innate kindness. They had encountered characters who spoke with forked tongues, individuals who saw in their innocence a chance for personal gain. But throughout it all, the family remained a singular unit, their bond unshakable. Granny, ever the matriarch, kept a vigilant watch over their affairs, her wisdom often cutting through the pretense of the urban world. She saw through the glossy exteriors of the city's inhabitants, identifying the hollow promises and the superficial glitter with the ease of one who had spent a lifetime observing the true nature of things. Her presence was a steadying force, a reminder of the values they held dear, values that transcended the wealth and status that others so desperately craved. Jed, despite the manipulations surrounding him, remained uncorrupted. He viewed his wealth not as a tool for power, but as a resource for positive change. When he offered his fortune to combat the smog, he did so with the simple generosity of a man who understood the value of shared effort. He did not seek recognition or glory. He sought only to leave the world a little cleaner, a little brighter than he had found it. His interactions with those around him were marked by a gentle sincerity that often caught the cynical city dwellers off guard. They were unaccustomed to such earnestness, and in his presence, their own pretenses often faltered, momentarily exposing the humanity they worked so hard to conceal. Ellie Mae, meanwhile, moved through the city with a grace that was entirely her own. She saw beauty in the smallest things, a stray animal, a patch of wildflowers growing in the cracks of the sidewalk, the way the light caught the marble of the monuments. Her connection to the natural world was a source of constant wonder to those who observed her, a stark contrast to the rigid, artificial environment of the nation's capital. Her compassion was boundless, and it was this purity of spirit that often served as a beacon, guiding her through the complexities of their new environment. And then there was Jethro. His enthusiasm for progress was boundless, his inventions as varied as they were unorthodox. While his attempts at technological salvation were sometimes met with bemused skepticism, his heart was always in the right place. He believed, with an infectious optimism, that the problems of the modern age could be solved with a bit of ingenuity and a lot of hard work. His dream of a cleaner, more efficient world was a reflection of the hope that defined his entire generation, a hope that fueled his endless experimentation and kept him moving forward, regardless of the setbacks. As the days turned into weeks, the Clampetts became a fixture in the city, their presence a quiet, persistent challenge to the status quo. They brought with them the rhythms of the mountains, the directness of their speech, and the unwavering belief in the fundamental goodness of people. They were a testament to the idea that even in the heart of a complex and sometimes uncaring world, one could remain true to oneself. Their story, a tapestry woven with humor, love, and a deep-seated humanistic spirit, was a reminder that the most profound changes often begin not with grand gestures, but with the simple, sincere actions of those who dare to care. They were, in their own way, shaping the world around them one act of kindness at a time, proving that integrity and love are the most powerful forces of all. The road ahead was uncertain, but as they stood together, looking out over the city they had come to save, they knew one thing for certain. They would face whatever challenges lay ahead with the same quiet strength and resilience that had brought them this far. They were, and always would be, the family from the hills, carrying with them the enduring spirit of their home, a spirit that would continue to guide them as they sought to make their mark on the world. The saga of the Clampett family in the city of Washington, District of Columbia, began with a mixture of simple mountain wisdom and the grand, confusing machinery of federal government. It was a time of great bustle for Jed, Granny, Ellie Mae, and Jethro, as they found themselves caught in a whirlwind of well-meaning but ultimately misguided attempts to help their country. The trouble, if one could call it that, started with the discovery of the smog problem. Jed Clampett, always a man of deep concern for the land and the air, had been listening to radio reports with a furrowed brow. When he expressed a desire to help, his friend, the banker Melvin Drysdale, found himself in a predicament. Mr. Drysdale was terrified that the Clampetts might withdraw their vast fortune from the Commerce Bank of Beverly Hills, and he would do almost anything to prevent it, including encouraging them to donate their money to fight smog. The situation spiraled into absurdity when Jed, guided by the smooth-talking Honest John, believed that the president himself was personally responsible for managing smog, the White House property, and various other national monuments. Jed, ever the patriot, felt it was his duty to purchase these landmarks from a supposed Columbia Indian princess named Sitting Hawk, represented by the very same Honest John. As the Clampetts marched through the Capitol, they encountered guard after guard, official after official, and a series of misunderstandings that led them to the curious halls of a psychiatric ward, where they were mistaken for international agitators. Through it all, the family remained unfailingly polite, offering pickled pawpaws and hand-slung chickens to anyone who would listen. They did not understand the concept of a state of emergency, nor did they grasp why the government would go to such great lengths to keep an old woman out of her own ancestral teepee. Back at the hotel, Jethro, having discovered a new sense of purpose, busied himself with his menagerie of animals, including a kitten he named Jefferson Davis. He was under the impression that he was running a grand, professional show for the local children, unaware of the fine line he was walking between public service and neighborhood nuisance. Meanwhile, Miss Jane Hathaway, always the devoted secretary, scrambled to keep Mr. Drysdale from suffering a nervous collapse as the banker juggled the conflicting demands of his own greed and his desperate need to keep the Clampetts happy. The turning point came when Honest John and the woman posing as Princess Sitting Hawk were confronted by the genuine, simple-hearted kindness of the Clampetts. Their incessant praise for Honest John as a living saint, a man of pure heart who would marry an ancient Indian woman out of charity, finally broke the confidence man. He had played many marks in his life, but he had never played anyone quite like the Clampetts, who, in their innocence, had effectively shamed him into honesty. In a rare moment of clarity and overwhelming guilt, Honest John returned the millions of dollars he had swindled from Jed. He and his accomplice fled, leaving behind a baffled family who simply could not understand business. Minnehaha means lovely lady doctor. Is it not that nice? Shlamio. What does that mean? Loosely translated, that means genius. Sure got you, Peg. Ask her what she will take for the capital. Potawatomis. Now Gonset make an offer. Do not start too high, Jed. Leave room to dicker. I will. You want me to loosen her up with a shot of fire water? No, no. Well, honest, John, I paid her 1 halogany for the White House. Ask her if she will take that for the Capitol. We can try. Chickasaw, Wichita, halogany. Walker, Finoke. What did she say? I am afraid there is no polite way to interpret that. I take it she would tear me down. Very rudely. Powwow, Wigwam, Tacoma, halogany. She is asking 2 million. Tell her to go Okefenokee. Granny. Well, honest, John, if that is her rock-bottom price, I reckon we will have to meet it. Tacoma, halogany. Tuscaloosa, Tuscaloosa. It is a deal. Shall I, give the check to Princess Suttonhawk? No, no, no. There is a special congressional committee to handle the acquisition. Make your check payable to, Committee Acquiring Senate Headquarters. That is a lot to write. Could I not just use the initials again? Good idea. The Washington short form. Committee Acquiring Senate Headquarters. Well, what do you know? Comes out CSH again. Honest, John, if Jed is buying the Capitol from Suttonhawk, why cannot she get to keep the money? She will, but first Congress has to convert it to buffalo hide. Well, there you are, Slimiel. What was that? Oh, the Indian word for genius, yeah. Now can we get to see the president? Of course. First, however, Suttonhawk has authorized me to offer for sale several other choice parcels of local real estate. Ixnay? Ixnay. That is the Washington Monument. Ixnay. Amscray. What is Amscray? That is the Lincoln Memorial. She will only sell them if you take them both. She does not want to break up a set. Well, I reckon it would not do no harm to look at them. Well spoken, my friend. Guatemala. Guatemala pronto. What did she say? She does not want to sell the airport. But if she closes it down, where will people land? Oh, we got to have an airport. Yes. Now look. You two stroll over and take a look at the Capitol. I will reason with her in her native language. See you at the hotel. Sure do hope you can get her to Poughkeepsie, to Guatemala. I will do my best. So long, Schettenhoff. Do not take any wooden buffalo hides. You will not. Look at Theodore Roosevelt go after that milk. He has got the best appetite of the bunch. You know something, Ellie? I cannot find paranoia no place. Now, schizophrenia, you need it. What are you talking about? Remember in the soccer ward when they said we was either paranoids or schizophrenics? Well, this here map of the world does not show neither one of them coming. Who cares? We are Americans. Come on, Theodore.
Now you can curl up on a bed and take a nap with George Washington. I'm paranoid, but no paranoia.
Come in. Excuse me, sir. If you are finished, I will take the dishes. Oh, sure. Help yourself. Tell me something. Do I look foreign to you? No. Why? Some folks think we are a family of paranoics or schizophrenics. What folks? The ones that had us at the psycho ward. They had you at the psycho ward? They picked us up just as we was moving into the White House. Oh, well, that is a shame. I, hope you enjoyed your lunch. Oh, yeah. The first 2 was real good. I could not finish the third. So, well, I may give part of it to Theodore Rosenberg. Sorry. Hey, will why all be quiet? You are going to wake up George Washington. George Washington is sleeping in there? Right over yonder. Abraham Lincoln and Jefferson Davis is in that room. Swell. Glad they finally made up. Oh, howdy, Mr. Waiter. Guess what, young UNS? I just bought the Capitol building lock, stock and center. And if the price is right, he is going to buy the X-ray and the M-scrape. That is the Washington Monument and the Lincoln Memorial. Oh, Mr. Waiter, this here is my granny and that is my pal. That figures. Uncle Jed, that Washington Monument is a real moneymaker. Why, they get 10 cents a head just to ride up in the elevator. I am not buying it to make money, Jethro. I am going to turn the whole thing over to the United States government. Can we go along, pal? You take the young UNS, Jed. I have got some sheets to wash. Come on. Honest Jones waiting to take it. Well, Mr. Clampett, how do you like it? Real fine, and that sure is a dandy elevator ride for 10 cents. Now that you are buying it, you can ride free. My doggies, the M-scrape is pretty as the X-ray. And it is all yours for the bargain price of $1 million. Hey, Uncle Jed, now that you bought the Supreme Court building, can I be a judge? How about that, Honest Jones? It is a sentence. I will talk to the president. But, Honest Jones, what would I do with a Pentagon? We will figure something. It is too good a bargain to pass up. Shifty, I have been worried out of my mind. Relax, boy. Chief La Salute has returned triumphant. Are you ready? You are looking at $10 million in Paleface Swampum. 10 million? And you wanted to quit with 2. Look at this. Smart control. The White House, the Capitol, Washington Monument and Lincoln Memorial, the Zoo, Supreme Court Building, the Pentagon, Dulles Airport, Library of Congress, the Potomac River. You got $1 million for the Potomac River? Well, it was so polluted I let it go cheap. Why? Ah. Shifty, I got to hand it to you. Good idea. That will be our champagne and caviar. Who ordered that? I did. I thought a little celebration is in order. Commune. Excuse me. I am looking for some kittens. Mr. Honest Jones. Calumet, do not find one of your kittens. Honest Jones. Well, would you look at this? It is Honest John and Sutton Hawk. Yes, ma'am. Honest John, I sure never expected this. Well, you see, you have got to be the nicest man that ever lived. Well, you see, what have I? What? Who else but you would take in a poor old Indian woman who has not got no place to pitch her teepee? What? Is not I always said it? The man is a living saint. He is the salt of the earth. One of nature is nobleman. I do not know what to say. You do not need to worry, Honest John. You speak with deeds of kindness. I am going to. Of course, you are the greatest American I know. Please do not say that. It is not true. It sure is. That is a fact. If everybody was like you, there would not be no wars or riots. All God as children would love one another like they were meant to. Stop it, will you? We have not said half enough. Why, you must be the finest man that ever lived. Look, you want to know the kind of man I am? I am a confidence man. That is the truth. We have got nothing but confidence in you. You do not know what you are saying. I do not, huh? When you are the only man that a 150-year-old Indian will trust. You are something special. All right, want to hear something? This woman is my wife. Did you hear that? This blessed man married this poor old hag to make her last days on earth happy. Listen to me. We work together. We are Confederate. Glory be, if all the people were like you, the South will rise again. Oh, God bless you, honeymooners. Granny, I think we best get out of here before we all go to ball. Wait a minute. Here, take your 10 million back. Why? It is yours and hers. We do not want it. We do not need it. What is the matter? Was it something we said? It is everything you said. Here. Well, I am not taking it back. Well, I am not keeping it. Happy New Year. Well, if all that, let us go in the other teepee. Well, if that does not beat all. It is our own fault, Granny. We overpraised him. You just cannot do that to a modest man. Well, come on, everybody. Well, now it is time to say goodbye to Jed and all his kin. They would like to thank you folks for kindly dropping in. You are all invited back next week to this locality to have a heaping helping of their hospitality. Hillbilly, that is, set a spell. Take your shoes off. You all come back now. Here. This has been a Filmways presentation. The Clampett family, with their characteristic warmth and rustic charm, airs tonight at 7 on the Hallmark Channel. Come and listen to my story about a man named Jed. A poor mountaineer, barely kept his family fed. And then one day he was shooting at some food. And up through the ground, come a bubbling crude. Oil that is, black gold, Texas tea. Well, the first thing you know, oh, Jed is a millionaire. The kinfolk said, Jed, move away from there. Said, California is the place you ought to be. So they loaded up the truck in the north of Beverly Hills, that is, swimming pools, movie stars. The Beverly Hillbilly. You wanted to see me, Mr. Clampett? Yes, sir, Mr. Honest John. We had us a kind of a bad experience. Here, in my town, Washington, District of Columbia? Yes, sir. It happened right after I bought the White House from your Indian friend Sutton Hawk. Ah, yes. The last of the District of Columbia Indians. Noble woman. Why is not faulting her? It was when we took the deed over to give it to the president we run into the trouble. You tried to see the president without telling me? Oh, we did not want to bother you. We thought we would just drop in, hand him the Waukegan. What? Are you forgetting? Waukegan is Indian for deed. Ah, yes, of course. You gave it the pale-faced pronunciation. Confused me for a moment. But anyway, it was at the gate to the White House where things went wrong. I will say they did. Oh, I am terribly sorry, especially for your sake, Ellie Mae. No, I am Granny. I did it again. It is very confusing. You both look so young and radiant. Well, I do not feel young and radiant. When we tried to see the president, they took us to the Calabas. No. Well, come to think of it, it was not exactly a Calabas. It was more like a hospital. Well, anyway, it was something called a psycho ward. Do you know what that is? Never heard of it. That, my friends, is a place reserved for very important visitors like yourselves. Now that I recollect, they did think that we come from a foreign country. Yeah, a place called Paranoid. There was another country mentioned, too. That is right. They said from the way we looked and acted, we was either paranoics or schizophrenics. Yeah. A natural mistake. There are many of them here in Washington. Well, you would think that after Jed laid out $1 million to buy the White House for him, the president would see us. I will go to the White House right now and speak to the chief. Well, you tell him and his missus that we would like to be invited for victuals. You will be. Victuals and the gold room. Tell the president is missus not to go to no trouble. I will do that. I am sure the First Lady will be very relieved. First Lady? That is how we refer to the president as wife. Did you hear that, Granny? They call her the First Lady. Yeah. I bet the other president is wives would not appreciate a crack like that. Hello? Hello? Hello, where are you? I am trying to scrape off this Indian paint so we can blow top. Blow top. Honey, I have got the Clampetts convinced that you own the entire District of Columbia. So, I have only sold them one little parcel. The White House, now shifty. What is wrong with getting another $1 million for the Capitol building and the Washington Monument? Independence Hall. That is in Philadelphia. I will let it go for half price. I will get the paint back on your sitting horse and their sitting ducks. Shifty, be sensible. You have got $1 million to fight smog. You have got another $1 million for the White House. Let us take the $2 million and fly to Guatemala. Guatemala? What is in Guatemala? When we get there, us and the $2 million. I get it. All right then. Let us split the money. That is the deal. The next $2 million is yours. Honey, have a little faith in me and we will be in Clover. We will be in Leavenworth. Sweetie, you are arguing with a man who is a proven success. I am worth $2 million. You have not got a penny. Go put on the paint. Whoa, where is Ellie Mae? I need her to help with the housework. Annie, there is a maid that does all that. You cannot expect one poor girl to do it all, Jim. There is 1,000 rooms in this hotel. Wow, Grinny. That is Toma is surprise. Well, that is mighty nice of you, Ellie. What is it, Ellie? Take a look. Are they not cute? Course it is cute, Ellie. But if there is one thing we do not need right now, it is more critters. Your pa is right, Ellie. Take them back. But Grinny, I already named them. Do not matter. Take them back. They are all named after presidents. This one here is George Washington. This one here is Abraham Lincoln. And this one is Theodore Roosevelt. Take them back, Ellie. This one is Jefferson Davis. He can stay. We have got so many critters now, Mr. Drysdale has to look after them first. One poor little Confederate kitten is no bother. Besides, Miss Jane is there to help. Big show inside. Chief? Where are you, Chief? I have got to talk to you. Did you buy a ticket? Well, of course not. Right over there. 25 cents. What is going on in there? Buy a ticket and find out. Chief, this is important. I have got to talk to you. Not without the ticket. That is good. There. Now make it snappy. School will be out pretty soon. I am expecting a couple hundred kids for the big show. What big show? Ellie is animals. If I am going to take care of them, I might as well make a buck. Children can see animals at the zoo for nothing. I have got an act they will not see at the zoo. Fearless leopard woman fights full-grown mountain lion with her bare hands. Where are you going to find anybody crazy enough to do a thing like that? See you in the sleds. Forget it. Are you going to disappoint all those children? And the mountain lion. Now perhaps you had better listen to the news. Washington, District of Columbia Bank just phoned. Jack Clampett has written checks for $2 million. $2 million? Who did they meet out to? Cash. The bank simply wanted to know if they were good. Well, I hope you told them no. Chief, I cannot lie. You cannot lie. You cannot fight mountain lions. What do I need you for? Well, for one thing, to take care of the bank while you are putting on kiddie shows. Do not knock it. 200 kids at 25 cents a throw, that is $75. That is $50. So you caught me. You would be surprised how many people do not. Now hop on a plane to Washington and bring the Clampetts home. Well, what do I use for money? Oh yeah, I forgot. Here is $500. Bring back the change. That is $300. So you caught me again. Big deal. Happy landings. I must say, Chief, you are taking this all very calmly. Why not? At least the Clampetts are not in the clutches of that confidence man, Shifty Schaefer. I said, Mr. President, my pals the Clampetts have spent $2 million on your behalf. When are we going to see them? Then I said, if necessary, I am sure they would be willing to spend even more. What did he say? You should have seen his face. We would like to. He was deeply moved. Tears welled up in his eyes. Have you ever seen a president cry? We have never seen a president do nothing. Granny, let Miss Johnston tell a story. What makes you think it is a story? Oh, yes, you mean the account of what happened. Yes, well, just then the hotline from the Capitol building rang. Congress was in a turmoil. How come? Sitting Hawk has pitched her teepee on the grounds of the Capitol building and will allow no one to enter or leave her property. Well, that is right. She owns a whole shooting match. Congress has adjourned. The country is paralyzed. A state of emergency has been declared. No one knows what to do. It is terrible. Well, why do we not just go over to the Capitol and I will buy it from her? What an idea. What a patriotic gesture. Once again you have saved your country. The president will be overjoyed. This time we would like to see the joy. My doggies, that is just about the prettiest building I ever did see. It is even bigger than the White House. I think I see Sitting Hawk. Where Jack had her teepee pitched in the bushes yonder. Is it not terrible to think that our nation's capital can be barricaded by one stubborn Indian? Well, now, you have got to remember she does not trust Potawatomis. Who? Annotation. They speak with fork and tongue. Oh yeah. How much do you reckon that she is going to charge Jed for the capital? Who knows? I will do my best to bargain with her. Let us go. Hall.
Howdy, Mom.
Sequoia, Manitoba Ponderosa. Yep. Tall farmer with a mustache. That is me. Minnehaha Zuni. I know Zuni means doctor. But what is that Indian ground?
No.
Yes, this entire area was once occupied by the Columbia Indians. That is why, to this day, it is called the District of Columbia. Well, cannot the government buy it from the Indians? There is only one surviving member of the Columbia tribe, and she refuses to sell. She? Yes, the ancient and noble Princess Sitting Hawk. What noble mean? Proud and defiant woman. Not all the pale-faced pony soldiers can drive her from the land she feels is rightfully hers. Why will she not sell? Sitting Hawk does not trust politicians. She says they speak with forked tongue. Well, cannot the president get her to sell the White House to him? I have been chief executive since Lincoln has tried. Lincoln? How old is she? Well, no one knows for sure, but at least 150. Indians do live a long time. She would not even sell to Lincoln? Well, she likes certain things about him. The fact that he was tall, a simple man, humble, honest. I would say that Lincoln and Teddy Roosevelt have come closest to impressing Princess Sitting Hawk. She favored Teddy, did she? Well, he was a rugged outdoor man. She admired that. She liked his mustache. She called him chief hair on the lip. Them two was the only ones that come close. Huh? Yes, if there only existed a man who combined the qualities of both. Tall, simple, humble, honest, a rugged outdoor man with a mustache. You are describing Jed? One who had never been involved in politics. That is Jed. Who? Jed Clampett. He is sitting right here. Now, Granny. By charge, I think she has got it. Shucks, no. Did you hear that? Shucks, no. Says everything. He is simple, he is humble, he is honest. He is tall, and he has got hair on the lip. He is our man. Forget it. I cannot handle nothing as important as this. Mr. Clampett, when Andrew Jackson, Old Hickory, was asked to fight the Battle of New Orleans, do you know what he said? Forget it. I cannot handle nothing as important as this. Is that a fact? But he won, and you will win. History has chosen you, and you cannot refuse. Do it, Jed. Then we are sure to get an invite to the White House. Well, I am not going to do it just for that. Then you will do it? Well, at least the president is mine. Least I can do is try. Spoken like a true patriot. I will take you to Princess Sitting Hawk and act as your interpreter. You talk Indian? I learned as a child. The tongue of the Columbia Indians was the second language in our home. How come? Well, many moons ago my family befriended the tribe. When all other pale faces were against them, the Indians knew they could always find refuge in the home of a shaper. It was nice of your folks to take them in. Our name has become part of the Indian language, synonymous with hospitality. To this very day, to be taken in is to be shapered. Look, Jed, I think I see her. Is that her, Ernest John? Yep. There she sits in front of her lonely teepee. The last of the noble Columbia Indians, the ancient and venerable Princess Sitting Hawk. Does she sit there all the time? Day and night? Winter and summer? Rain or shine? She keeps silent vigil over home. You think they would let her stay in a White House? It is on her land. On the contrary. Why, they have cannons to keep her out. Well, if that does not beat all. Cannons to keep out a poor old 150-year-old Indian woman? You cannot hardly blame her for feeling spiteful. Is that why she wears all that war paint? Would you not if somebody pointed cannons at you? Now, you have sympathy and understanding for her cause. She is going to like you. I feel it. Can we go talk to her now? I will ask her. She has agreed to a powwow. Chattanooga. Choo-choo. Paleface Cayuga. What did you say? I told her you were very friendly. Good. Paleface Sequoia. She says you are tall. She likes that. Paleface Anderosa. She likes your mustache. Paleface Tippecanoe. Shoshone too. She says you are a combination of Lincoln and Roseland. That is right, Cayuga of her. Paleface Potawatomi.
No, Potawatomi.
What was that? She wanted to know if you are a politician. Tell her I am a farmer. Paleface Manitoba. Tallahassee. She is very pleased. Tell her I am a doctor. Paleface Squazuni. Zuni. She is very impressed. I did not get no Tallahassee out of her. Tallahassee. Tallahassee. That is better. Saskatchewan. She has invited us to sit down. Well, maybe we better get down to business. Ask her if she will sell me the White House property. I will do that. Tell her if she does, I will do my best to shape her. What? Take her into the White House. Oh yes, yes. But, Jed, we have not been tooken ourselves yet. Do not worry, dear friends. Before this day is over, I promise you we will be thoroughly shaped. What is Settenhoff doing in there? She is getting help from the spirits. Well, she ought to lay off. Sounds like she has had enough. Oh no. She is contacting the spirits of her ancestors who have gone to the happy hunting grounds. Asking their advice. I hope they advise you to sell me the White House. First thing I am going to do is take them cannons away. Yeah. Looking down the mouth of a cannon every day must be awful scary. Not the sitting hawk. She is fearless. Even General Custer could not drive her from this spot. He tried, did he? Rode in here with his cavalry. Yelling, shooting, waving their sabers. But she never budged. Spunky little woman. A bravey so impressed General Custer that he called her courageous adversary. A name which has stuck to this day. I would have called him a few names. Sitting Hawk got her revenge. She told her cousin Sitting Bull. You know what happened to Custer? Oh yeah, Waukegan. What is that? It is the deed to the White House. Oh good. Sitting Hawk. Poughkeepsie. Paleface Wigwam. Sequoia, Manitoba. She has decided to sell the White House to the tall farmer. Oh, I am right, Tallahassee. Ask her how much she wants for it. Yucca lumpum.
Uno allege.
He and the spirits have arrived at the price of 1 million. Tell her it is a deal. Caracas.
Venezuela.
Write the check. Oh, shall I make it out to Sitting Hawk? Yes, but include the name bestowed on her by General Custer. That is courageous adversary Sitting Hawk. I do not hardly have room for that. Just use the initials. That is the custom here in Washington. Courageous adversary Sitting Hawk. Well, what do you know? Comes out just like the other check.
CASH.
Oh, what a coincidence. Is not Sitting Hawk going to get the money? Of course, but first I have to change it into beads for her. Here. Here is the one key you get. Howdy. Howdy. We are the Clampets. This here is Granny, Ellie Mae, Jethro, and I am Jay. Howdy. Howdy. Can I help you folks? Oh no, thanks. We are all able-bodied. The president is going to shave for us. I beg your pardon. Can you keep a secret? I think so. I percept the White House from Sitting Hawk. The whole fool of them. How is he going to give the president his more key gift? And he will be right tally-hussy to get it. Well, we best ask Atcham for a supper table. Hey, can we see the president now? Just a second. I will, see if he is busy. Captain Frank at these gate. I got 4 dingalings here. 'Kay, but hurry. What did he say? He is sending a car for you. Oh shucks. We will walk. It is not but a couple 100 feet. No. You just stay right here. The president would not have it any other way. Well, that is real Cayuga. Oh, he is very Cayuga. Do you notice anything familiar looking about Jed? Should I? He is Tippecanoe and so show me too. Now that you mention it, he certainly is. It is being Sequoia and having a Ponderosa that does it. But he is not no pot to what to me. A car is here. Look at that big, fancy limousine. Yeah, we was not aiming to put on airs, but looks like the president will not have it any other way. He is going to get Chafford in style. Yeah, Chattanooga, choo-choo. He talks it real good. Does he not? Come on, everybody. Black hat, black boots, black belt. Bad news for the bad guys. Walker, Texas Ranger. Weeknights at 6 on the Hallmark Channel. Let there be light. In ancient struggles, we must have our strength to destroy the world. Became eternal stories. What could a man know of a God so mighty as to make all this? Egypt will starve. In the beginning see the president. We are going to give him $95 million. Oh boy, you know the president? Talked to him this morning. I am fetching him a baby possum. And I am taking him a jar of pickled pawpaws and some hand-slung chitlins. We was going in my electric car, but I could not find no 3,000-mile extension cord. That is very interesting. Young lady, how high would you say we are flying? A lot higher than the plane. Weeknights on Hallmark. Watch great stories. I am an angel. and witness the miracles. Touched by an Angel. Weeknights at 8 on the Hallmark Channel. Maxine's job is to keep families together. In just a few minutes, you will be one big happy family. Including her own. Mom, you have to stop. Stop what? I know you mean well, but you really have to let me grow up. I thought I did that already. Amy Brenneman and Time Daily in Judging Amy. Monday at 9 on Hallmark Channel. The Beverly Hillbilly I Got the Wind. Everybody. We are flying over a right pretty town. That there is Washington, District of Columbia. Anybody see the White House? Appears to be lots of white houses down there. Would you fasten your seatbelts, please? Yes, ma'am. We will be landing in a few minutes. You are going to feed us again before we land? I am afraid there is not time. You done had 4 meals and 3 snacks. Why, it makes me hungry. But we are landing now. Landing makes me hungry, too. We go straight to the White House, Paul? I think so, Ellie. The quicker we give our money to the president, the quicker he can commence fighting smog. Sure, I will breeze him down for supper. I am starving. Jed, if that boy takes his meals at the White House, the president's wife will never get out of the kitchen. I can help with the cooking. No, Ellie, I will do that. You make the beds and do the dusting. And Jethro, you can mow the White House lawn and rake the leaves. Let Ellie do that. The president needs me for my brain. Opu. I will likely be in the East Room or someplace sitting on his cabinet. You keep your feet off the president's furniture. Looks like we made it. The climate is on here. See you at the hotel. Shifty, what if they do not show up? They will be here any minute. I checked their flight. How are you going to get past the guard? I will handle it. It is important for the Clampets to see me coming out of the White House. Okay, good luck, honey. Yeah. Jaffa, Federal Bureau of Investigation. Hold it. What is it? What? The president is waiting. What is it? I need to see your identification. You do not recognize me? Nope. Good. I told you, Edgar, this was a perfect disguise. See you later. Hold it. Look, you are delaying high-level meetings. Now, what do you want? I want to see your pass. My pass? Of course. My pass, but how do you know? I must have left it on the president's desk. I will go get it. Hold it. Now what is it? I cannot let you in without a pass. Is that your final word? It is. Excellent. You have passed the test with flying colors. Congratulations. Now let me see. Now you are guard number 16. Escape gets a 1 rating. The president will be pleased. Now, do not be surprised if there is a little something extra in your stocking at Christmas. Hold it. Now look, you have proven your efficiency, my good man. Do not press your luck. I may drop you to a B+. Just candy canes and bubble gum in your stocking. Beat it. Beat it? Cavill, 1 word from me and you will be guarding a government igloo in Iceland. I am going to count to 3. If you are not gone, never mind. I think my pigeons have just flown in from the West Coast. Danny, big house the president has got. Nice big yard, too. Lots of room for critters. Reckon he has got a garden and chickens? Likely, I would bet. Well, here is all our stuff. Here you are, Mr. Taxi Driver. Thank you. Now, tell me, what time is the next public tour of the White House? 3 o'clock. Yeah, remember that. I am going to ask questions later. Tell the president I will be there. Mr. Schaefer. Honest, John. Well, bless my soul if it is not the Clampets. What brings you to Washington, of all places? We are here to see the president. We want to talk to him about the smog problem. We are going to help him get rid of the stuff. What a coincidence. You just appointed me chairman of a very special committee for that purpose. I am ready to give him my money if I just knew how. Another coincidence. Just happens to be the function of my committee. Are you lying? I try to do my humble bit. Shall I make out the check to the president? As a matter of fact, the check should be made payable to my committee. What is that? Citizens Against Smog Horror. That is quite a lot to write. Just use the initials. Fine. Citizens Against Smog Horror. Now, shall I make it for the whole 95 million?
No, no.
That might be a bit hard to handle. What do you mean? Well, you see, other public-spirited citizens not as wealthy as you might be embarrassed and not contribute at all. Oh well, we do not want that to happen. I am glad you understand. Give him $5, Jed. Lots of folks got that much. On the other hand, let us not go too far the other way. A little friendly embarrassment never hurt anybody. How about starting with $1 million? Excellent. Just the right amount to get the ball rolling. That is 1, naught, 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 comma, naught, 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 dot, naught, naught. Boy has got a great head for ciphers, is he not? He is a real knot head. Well, there you are, Mr. Honest John. I hope that primes the pump. Beautiful. The president will be delighted. Are you going to show it to him? At our afternoon meeting. What time is that again, my good man? 3 o'clock. That will be on time. I am a busy man. You must know the president pretty good. Pals, buddies. Well, why do you not take us to the meeting with you? We would like to say howdy to him. And he would like to say hi-dee to you. Oh golly. However, the Secret Service requires security clearance. Will that take long? Do you happen to have birth certificates, color photographs, passports, and a complete set of fingerprints with you? Why no, we are not. Well, I am afraid it will take a while. Meantime, I will put you up at a nice, comfortable hotel. Yeah, taxi. These are dainty fine accommodations, Mr. Honest John. Well, thank you, Mr. Clampett. Here, let me show you something. Here you have a magnificent view over the entire city of Washington. Well, is that not pretty? Granny, believe me, Mr. Honest John is fixing us up real nice here. Well, it is all right, but it is not like staying at the White House. Sure is not. They have got a kitchen over there where a fellow can get a snack when he is hungry. Are we not going to get to stay at the White House at all? Ellie Mae, do not pay no attention to him, Mr. Honest John. He is acting awful pushy. Not at all. As soon as I have straightened out the matter of security clearance, I am sure the president and his wife will issue you a formal invitation. Oh boy! Well, you tell them that they are not taking in a family of freeloaders. We will pitch in and help with the housework and the chores. I will make that matter crystal clear to him. We are glad of life to you. Glad to do it. See you later, friends. Shifty. Baby, how did it go? Like $1 million. And here it is. $1 million. Beautiful. I can have us packed in 5 minutes. Wait a minute. Where are we going? Mexico, Venezuela, you name it. Flo, there are 94 more where this came from. Now, do not get greedy. Let us take our $1 million and play it safe. Baby, this is a chance of a lifetime. Think big. I am thinking big. We could get 20 years apiece. Max, I have got those hillbillies in the palm of my hand. They are grapes waiting to be picked. How? Well, I have got $1 million for smog. I will get $1 million for something else. How? I will think of something. I will sell them the White House. How? You sound like an Indian. That is it. You are going to be an Indian. What? It is beautiful. They will love it. You are the last of the Columbia Indian. And that, dear friends, is why the president is embarrassed to invite you to the White House. You mean he does not even own the house he lives in? Not so much as a stick of furniture belongs to him. That is terrible. No wonder he cannot ask us to stay. I would feel the same way in somebody else's house. Who owns it? The White House stands on it, always looking for things, she continued, explaining that he spent his days rummaging through trash cans and garbage dumps, searching for items as mundane as 3 paper clips, a chrome coat hanger, or a single patent leather tap shoe. He was constantly bothering the other tenants, asking for bicycle spokes or baseball cards, and when they complained, it was always to her. He would not let anyone into his apartment, not even his own niece, and Mrs. Milligan was convinced that his collection of junk was a fire trap that posed a danger to everyone. Dr. Sinclair had visited Edgar, hoping to bring a sense of reason to the situation. but he had found the old man to be entirely impervious to standard psychiatric intervention. Yesterday, he wanted a yo-yo by 6 o'clock, and the week before, he had been obsessed with pieces of broken dolls, specifically heads, arms, and legs. Mrs. Milligan had begged the doctor to do something, pleading for the sake of the neighborhood, and noting that his doorbell did not even work. As it turned out, Edgar had disconnected it, routing the wires down into the basement. When the doctor arrived at the apartment, he found Edgar preoccupied with his search for a doll's head. Edgar was an uncommon old man, possessing a secret that seemed to reach out to the four corners of the earth. A secret that Dr. Sinclair was about to stumble upon. The doctor attempted to broach the subject of the niece who was so worried about him, but Edgar dismissed the concern with a simple, polite dismissal. He was far more interested in his work, a task of such immense importance that he could barely spare a moment for the doctor. "You see a doll's head here anywhere?" Edgar asked, his eyes scanning the chaotic room. The doctor pointed to one, but Edgar immediately rejected it, claiming it was too big and, more importantly, a brunette, whereas he required a blonde. He needed it in 5 minutes, and when the doctor asked what it was for, Edgar looked at him with an intensity that chilled the bone. "You want Santa Barbara to fall into the ocean?" he asked, before urging the doctor to stand aside. With a shout of triumph, he found the object he needed just in the nick of time, and though the doctor was bewildered, Edgar remained unfazed, his mind entirely consumed by the invisible forces he believed he was managing. The doctor left the apartment feeling deeply unsettled. He met with Edgar's niece, who was desperate for a solution, willing to sign anything, to cooperate in any way, if only her uncle could be helped. The doctor promised to return for a longer conversation, hoping to peel back the layers of Edgar's delusion. However, during their next encounter, the truth began to emerge in ways that defied all medical explanation. Edgar had once been an engineer, a man of success, but he had found his retirement to be unbearably boring. Then the voice had spoken to him. Edgar described the voice, a phenomenon that initially sounded like a symptom of a deep-seated psychosis. The voice had told him about the heart of Big Ben, where a pendulum ticked away the seconds, regulated by a stack of pennies. If they took one off, the clock sped up, and if they added one, it slowed down. These pennies maintained the balance, and the voice had told Edgar that the world was a funny place, full of wars, volcanoes, and storms, all of which required a similar balance. You have to build something that will keep the world from going too far, maybe even going poof. The voice had insisted. "What the pennies do for Big Ben, this does for the world," Edgar explained, gesturing to the sprawling, metallic sculpture that filled his room. Dr. Sinclair was horrified by the implication. He wanted to believe it was a typical delusion of grandeur, the invention of a tired, lonely man who felt useless and sought meaning in his own importance. But then the news came. A tiny island in the South Pacific called Tatoa had been destroyed by a tidal wave, and the time of the event, 3:17 in the afternoon, matched perfectly with the moment Edgar had lamented a disruption in his work. The coincidence was too precise to be ignored, and the doctor found himself trapped in a nightmare where the fate of the world rested in the hands of a man who collected trash. The doctor rushed to have Edgar released from the psychiatric facility, racing against time as he feared what might happen if the machine was left unattended. He even went so far as to pay the landlady double to keep the apartment intact. When he finally caught up with Edgar, who was preparing to leave for Miami because the voice had instructed him to go, the doctor was a changed man. He realized that Edgar was not a danger to be cured, but a man carrying a burden that no one else could comprehend. As Edgar prepared to depart, he handed the responsibility over to the doctor. It was all there, the bizarre sculpture, the seemingly random objects that held the planet in suspension. The doctor looked at the machine and realized that his practice now extended far beyond the walls of his office. He had become the custodian of a secret that defined the very existence of the world. As he stood before the delicate, strange creation, he knew that he would have to learn how to make the adjustments himself. The education would not last long, and the responsibility was absolute. He was a doctor, and now his patient was the world itself, caught in the silent, swirling mysteries of the Twilight Zone. The air in the hallway was thick with the scent of old paper and metallic dust, a sensory signature that defined the living space of Edgar Witherspoon. He was, by the assessment of the world, a man lost in the labyrinth of his own mind, an eccentric resident whom many labeled a lunatic. To his niece, Cynthia, he was a source of constant, gnawing anxiety, a man who rummaged through garbage dumps for items as mundane as 3 paper clips, a chrome coat hanger, or perhaps one singular patent leather tap shoe. The other tenants of the building had reached their limit, filing constant complaints to the landlord, Mrs. Milligan. They spoke of bicycle spokes and baseball cards, of a man who refused entry to everyone, turning his apartment into a veritable fire trap of accumulated debris. Mrs. Milligan found herself standing before Dr. Jeremy Sinclair, her frustration palpable. She spoke of the encroaching danger of the broken doll parts, the heads, the arms, the legs, and the singular, bizarre demands of a man who insisted on acquiring a yo-yo by 6 o'clock. She begged for intervention not just for the sake of the man, but for her own peace of mind. The doorbell, naturally, was disconnected, a detail that forced the doctor to descend into the basement to find the source of the silence. When Dr. Sinclair finally stood before the door of the apartment, he was met with a man who was, in his own estimation, busy with profound tasks. The doctor, a man of science and reason, found himself facing an old man who existed in a private world of irrational urgencies. Edgar Witherspoon was a man of uncommon depth, though his outward appearance suggested only the erratic behavior of a senior citizen who had lost his way. When the doctor attempted to initiate a professional conversation, Edgar was dismissive, his focus entirely on his search for a blonde doll head. He claimed it was an emergency, a matter that could cause the city of Santa Barbara to fall into the ocean if it were not addressed. Within 5 minutes, Dr. Sinclair was baffled. He observed the man, noting the apparent madness, yet struggling to reconcile it with the strange, placid confidence that radiated from Edgar. As the doctor departed, Edgar remained unshaken, his mind preoccupied with the precarious balance of the world. In the following days, the complaints intensified. A report of Edgar snatching a baby bottle from a carriage reached the doctor, escalating the demand for a medical intervention. Cynthia, desperate and terrified for her uncle, was willing to sign any form, to authorize any commitment, provided the erratic behavior came to an end. The doctor returned to the apartment, his patience wearing thin, his clinical curiosity battle-tested against the stubborn reality of the situation. He demanded entry, and this time Edgar allowed him inside. What the doctor witnessed, and that in the end, that was the greatest gift of all. The doctor's story was a quiet, unassuming one, a story of service, of dedication, and of a life well lived in the service of the world. It was a story that would never be fully told, for it was lived in the shadows and the silence of the night, but it was a story that mattered, for it was a story that had kept the world turning for so many years. And as he closed his eyes, he was at peace, knowing that his work was done, for today, and that tomorrow he would begin again with the same commitment, the same passion, and the same unwavering belief in the future. The world was in his hands, and he was in the hands of the world, a connection that had become the essence of his life. He was a part of the grand, intricate, and beautiful design of existence, and he was proud to be a witness to it all. He was the doctor, the guardian, and the man who had seen the truth of the world, and he was ready for whatever the future held, with a heart full of hope and a spirit full of peace. He was a man who had found his purpose, his peace, and his place in the world, and he was content to continue his work as long as he was needed. He was the man who had looked into the heart of the world and had seen the beauty and the fragility that lay within, and he was determined to protect it, to nurture it, and to cherish it for as long as he could. He was a man of the world, a man for the world, and a man who had found his true home in the service of others. The doctor, the guardian, the man who had seen the truth, he was all of these things and more. He was a man who had lived his life with purpose, and he was ready to face the future with the same quiet, steady resolve that had defined his journey all along. He was the protector of the world's future, the silent sentinel of the global balance, and he was, above all else, a man who had found the true meaning of life in the service of the whole. As he stood in the heart of his sanctuary, surrounded by the objects that kept the world from going poof, he felt a deep, abiding sense of fulfillment. He was a man who had found his place, his purpose, and his peace in the world, and he was content to continue his work for as long as it was needed. He was the doctor, the guardian, and the man who had seen the hidden order of existence, and he was ready to face whatever lay ahead with the quiet, steady strength of a life well lived. The world was a place of endless mystery, and he was happy to be a part of it, to learn from it, and to help ensure that it continued to thrive. He was the doctor, the man who had seen the heart of the world, and he was proud to be its guardian. He would keep watch, he would learn, and he would act, for the sake of the world, for the sake of humanity, and for the sake of the future that awaited them all. And so he remained, a man of purpose and peace, a man who had found his calling and embraced it with all his heart. He was the doctor, the guardian, and the protector, and he was, and would always be, a part of the grand, unfolding story of the world. He was a man who had truly lived, and he was content to continue his journey, one day at a time, into the heart of the great, unknown. He had learned that the most important thing was not the results of his work, but the act of doing it, the commitment to the service, and the love he felt for the world and all who lived upon it. He was a man who had found his truth, and he was ready to live it every day of his life, with the quiet, steady resolve that had become his own. He was the doctor, the guardian, and he was content, for he was home. The future was an open book, and he was ready to write his part, one page at a time, with the same care, the same commitment, and the same love that had guided his every action. He was a man who had found his purpose in the heart of the world, and he was ready to continue his journey into the unknown, with the quiet, steady strength of a man who knew exactly where he was going. He was the doctor, the guardian, and he was home. His life was a testament to the power of the human spirit to find meaning in the midst of chaos, to create beauty in the midst of the mundane, and to build a future of hope in the midst of uncertainty. He was a man who had truly lived, and he was grateful for every moment of his journey. He was a man who had found his home, and he was ready to share it with the world in his own, quiet, and profoundly significant way. He was the doctor, the man who had seen the hidden order of the world, and he was content to walk his path with purpose, with integrity, and with the quiet, steady resolve of a man who knew that the most important work was the work of the heart. He was a man who had found his place in the world, and he was ready to face the future with the same grace and the same commitment that had defined his life all along. The world was a place of endless possibilities, and he was ready to explore them all, one day at a time, with the same sense of wonder, the same sense of purpose, and the same sense of love that had guided his every action. He was a man who had truly lived, and he was ready to continue his journey into the heart of the future, with the quiet, steady strength of a man who knew that the true meaning of life was found in the service of others. The doctor, the man who had found his truth. He was a beacon of hope for all who sought to live with purpose and to serve with love. He was a man who had found his home in the world, and he was ready to share it with the world in his own unique way. He was the guardian of the balance, the protector of the promise, and the man who had seen the hidden beauty of the world, and he was, and always would be, a part of the grand, unfolding story of humanity. He was the man who had found his peace in the midst of the storm, his purpose in the midst of the chaos, and his place in the heart of the world. He was the doctor, the guardian, and the man who had learned the true meaning of life, and he was ready to continue his journey with the quiet, steady resolve of a man who knew that the true meaning of life was the journey itself. And so he remained, a man of purpose and peace, a man who had found his true home in the service of others. He was the doctor, the guardian, and the man who had seen the hidden order of existence, and he was ready to face the future with the same grace and the same commitment he had always shown. He was a man who had truly lived, and he was ready to continue his journey, one day at a time, into the heart of the great unknown. He had learned that the most important thing in life was to be present, to be mindful, and to be engaged in the work of the heart. He was a man who had found his path, and he was ready to walk it with courage, with compassion, and with the quiet, steady resolve of a man who knew that the true meaning of life was to love and to serve. He was the doctor, the man who had found his purpose in the service of the world, and he was content. The future was waiting, and he was ready to embrace it with open arms, with a heart full of hope, and a spirit full of peace. He was a man who had found his truth, and he was ready to live it every day of his life, with the quiet, steady resolve that had become his own. He was the doctor, the guardian, and he was home. It was a peculiar day in the city, the kind of day where the air felt heavy with the scent of distant rain and the unspoken anxieties of millions. Dr. Jeremy Sinclair sat in his office, his brow furrowed as he stared at the file on his desk. He was a man of science, a man of logic and order, yet he felt himself being pulled into a world where neither logic nor order seemed to hold any sway. The subject of his distress was Edgar Witherspoon, an elderly man who lived in a small, cramped apartment, surrounded by a mountain of what most would call trash. But what Edgar insisted was the structural integrity of the world itself. Mrs. Milligan, the landlady of the building where Edgar resided, had been the first to raise the alarm. She was a woman of firm resolve and little patience, and she found the habits of her tenant to be entirely intolerable. "He is crazy," she had told the doctor, her voice trembling with a mix of frustration and genuine fear. "That is what he is, a loony, a nutcase, a genuine wacko. Uncle Edgar is bustle of the day." It was a story of hope, a story of dedication, and a story of the profound, transformative power of the human spirit to shape its own destiny. In the end, it was not about the objects he collected, the adjustments he made, or the voice he heard. It was about the connections he had formed, the lives he had touched, and the difference he had made in the world. It was about the realization that every person has a role to play in the grand, unfolding mystery of life, and that even the smallest, most insignificant act can have a ripple effect that touches the lives of everyone. The doctor had found his answer, his purpose, and his peace. He was a man of the world, a man for the world, and a man who had seen the hidden threads of existence and chosen to weave them into a tapestry of hope, of purpose, and of enduring light. He was the guardian of the balance, the keeper of the promise, and the silent, vigilant servant of the future, and his story was the story of us all. He had learned that the world was not just a place to live, but a masterpiece to be nurtured, a work of art to be tended, and a miracle to be protected. He was a part of the solution, a piece of the puzzle, and he was proud to be doing his part in the grand, ongoing effort to keep the world turning in harmony with the laws that governed it. He had found his home, his heart, and his soul in the work he did, and he knew that as long as he was there, the world would be in good hands. He had seen the face of the future, and it was a face of hope, of resilience, and of endless possibility. He had seen the heart of the world, and it was a heart of compassion, of love, and of deep, abiding connection. He was a man who had lived his life with purpose, and he was ready to face whatever lay ahead with the quiet confidence of one who had found his true path in life. The world would continue to turn, the stars would continue to shine, and the story of the doctor would continue to unfold, a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit. He was a man who had understood the true nature of his work, and he was grateful for every moment he had spent in the service of the world. He was a man who had truly lived, and he was content to continue his journey, one step at a time, into the heart of the great unknown. He had become a legend in his own mind, a hero of the invisible world, a guardian of the balance that made all life possible. And as the sun rose over the city once more, casting its golden light upon the world, he stood ready to begin his work again, a man with a purpose, a man with a mission, and a man with the quiet, unwavering resolve to keep the world going for as long as he could. The story was complete, and yet it was just beginning, for every day was a new chapter, every moment a new opportunity, and every life a testament to the enduring wonder of existence. He was the doctor, the guardian, and the man who had seen the hidden order of the world, and he was ready to face the future with the same courage, the same commitment, and the same love that had guided him all along. The silence of the room was a comfort to him, a space in which he could reflect on the journey he had taken and the path that lay ahead. He was a man who had found his place in the world, and he was ready to continue his work with the same dedication, the same passion, and the same quiet, steady resolve that had made him the man he was. He was a man who had truly made a difference, and he was proud to be a part of the grand, unfolding tapestry of life. The world was a complex, beautiful, and sometimes a challenging place to live, but it was also a place of infinite possibility and wonder. He was grateful for the opportunity to be a part of it, to contribute to its growth and development, and to help ensure that it continued to be a place where life could flourish, grow, and thrive for generations to come. He was a man with a heart full of hope, and he was ready to face whatever the future held with the quiet, unwavering strength of a life well lived. His legacy was one of service, of dedication, and of deep, abiding love for the world and all who inhabited it. He was a man who had truly understood the meaning of life, and he was ready to share that understanding with the world in his own quiet way. He was the guardian of the balance, the seeker of truth, and the protector of the promise. And he was, at his core, a man who believed in the inherent goodness of the human spirit. And so, he remained, a constant presence in the heart of the city, a man who had found his true purpose in the work he did and the life he lived. He was a man of peace, a man of purpose, and a man of enduring faith in the future of the world. He was the doctor, the guardian, and the man who had seen the hidden magic of existence, and he was ready to continue his work until the very end, whenever that might be. He knew that his story was not the only one, that there were many others like him, working in the shadows, tending to the needs of the world in their own unique way. He was proud to be a part of such a noble, hidden tradition, a community of individuals who had dedicated their lives to the service of the greater good. He was a part of something much larger than himself, and he was ready to contribute his part to the grand, ongoing effort of human existence. His heart was at rest, for he knew that he had done his best, and that, in the end, that was all that truly mattered. He was a man who had lived with integrity, who had served with devotion, and who had found meaning in the simple, everyday acts of service that defined his life. He was a man of deep, abiding character, and he was ready to face the future with the same grace and the same quiet, steady resolve that had defined his journey all along. The world was a better place because of him, and he knew it even if no one else did. He was the guardian of the balance, the protector of the promise, and the silent, watchful shepherd of the world's future. And in that, he found all the fulfillment he could ever ask for. A life of quiet, unassuming, yet profoundly significant contribution to the greater good of all. As the day began to unfold, with its own unique set of challenges and opportunities, the doctor prepared to meet them head-on, with a smile on his face and a heart full of purpose. He was ready to face the world, to do his work, and to live his life to the fullest, and he was grateful for every moment of it. He was a man who had truly lived, and he was ready to continue his journey, one step at a time, into the heart of the unknown, with the quiet, unwavering confidence of a life well lived. The story would go on as it always did, a testament to the endurance of the world and the spirit of the people who inhabited it. He was a part of that story, a chapter in the book of existence, and he was content to play his part for as long as he was needed. He was the doctor, the guardian, and the man who had seen the hidden beauty of the world, and he was, and would always be, a part of the grand, unfolding and eternal miracle of life itself. His journey was a reflection of the human spirit, a testament to our inherent capacity for wonder, for connection, and for meaning. He was a man who had truly lived, and he was grateful for every moment of his journey. He had found his place in the world, and he was content to walk his path with purpose, with integrity, and with the quiet, steady resolve of a man who had found his home in the heart of the mystery. He was the doctor, the guardian, and the protector of the world's future, and he was ready to face the challenges of tomorrow with the same grace and the same commitment he had always shown. He was a man of peace, a man of purpose, and a man of hope, and he would continue his work for as long as he was able, a testament to the power of the human spirit to shape its own destiny in a world of infinite possibility. And as the sun set over the city once more, he watched as the lights began to flicker on, one by one, a sea of stars that reminded him of the beauty and the fragility of the world. He was a part of that beauty, a part of that fragility, and a part of that endless, evolving tapestry of life. He was content, for he knew that he was doing what he was meant to do, opportunity to make a difference. As he stood at the window, looking out over the city that was oblivious to the work being done in its midst, he felt a flicker of hope. The world was still there, the streets were filled with life, and the future was still waiting to be written. He picked up a small, forgotten object from the table, turning it over in his hands with the care of a craftsman. He knew what he had to do next, for the voice was already beginning to whisper in his mind, guiding him toward the next adjustment, the next moment of necessity, the next turn of the great, invisible key that kept the world spinning in its proper course. And so, the doctor continued his work, one day at a time, one adjustment after another. He learned that the true essence of life was not in the big, grand gestures that the world celebrated, but in the quiet, persistent effort to keep the balance, to prevent the collapse, and to ensure that the beauty of existence was preserved for all who inhabited this fragile, spinning globe. He had found his purpose in the heart of the mystery, and he remained, forever, a student of the universe, a humble practitioner of a medicine that healed not just the body, but the very fabric of reality itself. He often thought back to his initial encounter with Edgar, the confusion, the skepticism, and the overwhelming feeling of being out of his depth. How far he had come since that first, fateful meeting. He was a different man now, one who saw the world through eyes that had been opened to the extraordinary nature of the ordinary. He no longer sought the easy answers, for he knew that the truth was often found in the most complex, demanding, and unexpected places. He embraced the absurdity of it all, finding in the chaos a kind of order that was both challenging and deeply rewarding. There were moments when he felt a strange sense of loneliness, knowing that he could never share the nature of his burden with another soul. But then he would hear the distant hum of the world, the pulse of life that persisted despite the threats it faced, and he would know that he was never truly alone. He was a part of something much greater than himself, a participant in a grand, unseen symphony of existence, and that realization provided him with all the comfort and resolve he needed. He became a master of the unconventional, a pioneer of a new, essential field of study. His colleagues at the hospital noticed the change in him, the newfound depth in his gaze, the quiet intensity with which he approached his work. They could not understand the source of his wisdom, but they respected the results of his practice. He was a better doctor, a more empathetic listener, and a more effective healer because he understood the fragility of life on a scale that few could even comprehend. As he looked at the stacks of items, now organized with a new sense of purpose and precision, he felt a quiet pride in the work that he and Edgar had performed. They were the silent architects of peace, the invisible laborers of the global equilibrium. They were the ones who ensured that the world did not succumb to the forces of entropy, that the delicate clockwork of existence continued to function, and that the promise of the future remained intact. It was a life of service, a life of duty, and a life of profound significance, and he would not trade it for anything in the world. The legacy of Edgar Witherspoon lived on through the Doctor, a testament to the power of a single, determined individual to shape the destiny of all. He understood that the responsibility he had inherited was not just a burden, but a gift, a chance to make a lasting impact on the world in a way that no one else could. He was a guardian of the planet, a steward of the delicate balance, and he walked his path with an unwavering commitment to the work that defined his existence. And so, the story continued, a never-ending cycle of vigilance and adjustment, of finding and fixing, of listening and acting. The Doctor was a part of the world, and the world was a part of him, a symbiotic relationship that required constant attention and infinite care. He was the one who kept the wheels turning, the one who ensured that the music of the spheres continued to play, and he did it all with a humble, quiet grace that was the hallmark of his extraordinary life. He knew that one day he too would have to pass on the torch, to find someone else who was capable of hearing the voice and understanding the weight of the work. But that was a task for the future, a concern for another day. For now, he was the guardian, the observer, and the practitioner of the greatest, most important form of preventative medicine, and he was content to dedicate his life to the preservation of the world, one adjustment at a time. He felt a deep sense of peace as he looked out into the night, the stars shining above like beacons in the vast, dark expanse. He was a small, insignificant figure against the backdrop of the universe, yet he was an essential, irreplaceable part of the whole. He was a bridge between the physical and the metaphysical, a conduit for the forces that govern the world, and he was a witness to the unfolding mystery of life in all its complexity and wonder. The work was never done, for the world was always in flux, always demanding, always in need of a guiding hand. But the Doctor was ready, as he had always been, to meet the challenges that came his way with patience, with perseverance, and with a heart full of hope. He knew that as long as there were those who were willing to listen, those who were willing to act, and those who were willing to sacrifice for the sake of the world, there was a future for all of humanity. And so, he continued his vigil, a silent sentinel in the heart of the city, a man who had found his place in the grand, intricate design of existence. He was the Doctor, the guardian, the seeker of balance, and he was, above all else, a person who cared deeply about the well-being of the entire planet. He was a part of the legacy of Edgar Witherspoon, a story that was whispered in the corridors of the world, a legend that was lived every day by those who understood the true, hidden meaning of the work. The Doctor's life was an odyssey of the spirit, a journey that had led him from the familiar shores of conventional science to the vast, unexplored territory of the unknown. He had navigated the turbulent waters of uncertainty, emerged from the shadows of his own skepticism, and found a home in the heart of the mystery. He had learned that the most profound truths were often the simplest, and that the greatest adventures were the ones that happened within the quiet sanctuary of the heart and mind. He knew that his work was a reflection of the human spirit, a testament to our inherent desire to create, to connect, and to preserve. He was a symbol of the resilience of the world, a beacon of hope for those who sought to find meaning in the midst of chaos. He was a man who had dedicated his life to the service of others, not just his patients, but everyone who drew breath on the surface of the earth. As he closed his eyes to rest, the sound of the world continued around him, a steady, rhythmic pulse that reminded him of the importance of his task. He knew that tomorrow would bring new challenges, new discoveries, and new opportunities to make a difference. He was ready for whatever the future held, for he was a man who had seen the truth of the world, and who was committed to ensuring that it continued to thrive, to grow, and to shine. His life was a gift, a precious, fleeting experience that he had used to the best of his ability. He was a man who had lived with intention, who had loved with passion, and who had served with humility. He was a man who had made his mark on the world, not with the stroke of a pen or the power of a sword, but with the quiet, persistent work of his hands and his heart. He was a man who had found his place in the great, unfolding story of humanity, and he was content to play his part for as long as he was able. The story of the doctor and the world he protected was one that would never be told in the halls of academia or the pages of history books. It was a secret kept between the man and the machine, between the observer and the observed, a story that was lived in the silence of the night and the dusty blinds of the small apartment, casting long, fractured shadows across a landscape of sheer eccentricity. Dr. Jeremy Sinclair stood in the center of the room, his eyes scanning the chaotic assemblage of objects that seemed to defy the laws of gravity and logic. To the casual observer, it was merely an accumulation of refuse, a fire trap, and a testament to a mind slowly untethered from reality. But as the good doctor had recently learned, appearances could be deceptive, and the weight of the entire world rested upon this very pile of seemingly disparate items. Uncle Edgar Witherspoon was a man who inhabited a private world of irrational urgencies. To his neighbors, he was a nuisance, a collector of trash who rummaged through garbage dumps and pestered tenants for mundane items like paper clips or chrome coat hangers. Mrs. Milligan, the landlady, was particularly vocal in her exasperation. She complained of his strange requests, his refusal to allow anyone into his apartment, and his persistent habit of causing a scene. She viewed him as a genuine wacko, a danger to himself and those around him, and she had turned to Dr. Sinclair for assistance. The doctor, initially skeptical, had approached the case with the clinical detachment of a man who believed in clear-cut diagnoses and orderly solutions. He expected to find a typical case of obsession, perhaps even a harmless delusion of grandeur. However, the reality of Edgar Witherspoon proved to be far more complex. During their first, rather strained conversation, Edgar had brushed off the doctor's concerns with a disarming blend of politeness and distraction. He was too busy, he claimed, to entertain guests, for he had a world to stabilize. The doctor had persisted, driven by a professional curiosity that gradually transformed into a genuine, if bewildered, concern. He asked why a man would collect broken doll heads, shoes, and paper clips, only to be met with the cryptic response that he could not afford masterworks of art. It was a joke, surely, but as Edgar spoke of the voice that guided his work, the doctor began to feel a strange, creeping unease. The voice, Edgar claimed, had appeared to him one day in the park, tasking him with a responsibility of cosmic proportions. It spoke of the delicate balance of the world, a mechanism not unlike the internal workings of a grand clock, where small adjustments could mean the difference between order and utter chaos. The doctor struggled to reconcile his scientific training with the bizarre claims of his patient. Yet, the evidence began to mount in ways that defied logical explanation. When Edgar spoke of a tiny island in the South Pacific called Tatoa and expressed concern that it was falling out of balance, the doctor had initially dismissed it as another facet of his mental instability. But then the news report had come, confirming that Tatoa had indeed been destroyed by a tidal wave at exactly the time Edgar had predicted. The coincidence was too precise, the timing too uncanny. The doctor was forced to confront the possibility that the old man was not merely deluded, but involved in something that transcended his understanding of medicine or psychiatry. As the doctor delved deeper into the intricacies of Edgar's work, he found himself drawn into a surreal existence. He saw how the placement of a simple object could theoretically prevent a catastrophe, how the act of scavenging for a specific item, be it a doll's head or a tambourine, was not an act of madness but a meticulous effort to maintain the equilibrium of the globe. Edgar was a guardian of the delicate threads that bound the world together, a role he fulfilled with a sense of duty that was both inspiring and profoundly heavy. The doctor began to see the world not as a collection of clinical cases, but as a vast, interconnected tapestry where every action, no matter how small, carried weight. He realized that his professional desire to cure Edgar might actually be the very thing that threatened the survival of everyone. When he finally succeeded in getting Edgar released from the hospital, he found himself in a position he had never imagined possible. The old man, ready at last to retire to Miami, handed over the burden of his work to the doctor, believing that it was time for someone else to carry the torch. The transition was not easy. The doctor, standing amidst the piles of discarded items that kept the world from going poof, felt a sudden, crushing sense of responsibility. He had once looked for a way to treat a patient, but now he was looking for a way to save existence itself. He had to learn the rhythm of the work, the precise timing of the adjustments, and the absolute necessity of being in the right place at the right time. As the weeks turned into months, Dr. Jeremy Sinclair found himself taking on a new, unconventional practice. He was no longer just a psychiatrist. He was a silent, vigilant guardian of the planet. He learned to listen for the needs of the machine, to understand the voice that guided him, and to accept the burden that Edgar had so willingly shouldered for 11 long years. He began to understand that the thin line between sanity and madness was often a matter of perspective, and that sometimes the most important work in the world is done by those the world deems the most insane. He remembered Edgar's words, his simple advice, and his strange sense of humor. He realized that the old man had not been a victim of his own mind, but an architect of reality. A man who had found meaning in the most unlikely of places. The doctor kept the apartment, keeping it as it was, respecting the sacredness of the work. He watched the news with a new level of scrutiny, tracking the shifting tides of history and the subtle disturbances that signaled a need for an adjustment. There were times when the temptation to walk away was overwhelming, when the pressure of the hidden duty seemed too much to bear. But then he would find a piece of the puzzle, a long-lost object that fit perfectly into the mechanism, and he would feel a sense of relief, knowing that for a little while longer the world remained intact. He was no longer just an observer. He was a participant in the great, unfolding story of the planet. The doctor's life had changed irrevocably. He was a man with a secret, a physician whose practice extended to the well-being of the entire Earth. He realized that humanity was often oblivious to the dangers it faced, to the disasters that were averted by the smallest, most unassuming actions. He felt a profound sense of gratitude to the old man who had shown him the way, even as he felt the daunting weight of the future resting upon his own shoulders. In the quiet hours of the night, when the world seemed to hold its breath, the doctor would sit in the dim light of the apartment, considering the strange, invisible web that connected everything. He was a scientist, a healer, and a guardian all at once. He understood that his journey had only just begun, and that the path ahead was fraught with uncertainty. But he also understood that as long as he remained vigilant, as long as he continued to learn and to act, there was hope for the world. He thought of his patients at the hospital, those who were troubled by the challenges of their daily lives, and he wondered if they would ever understand the nature of the work he did in his private hours. He was, in a sense, treating them still, for by keeping the world in balance, he was ensuring that they had a place to live, a space to heal, and a future to look forward to. His life had become a synthesis of the mundane and the miraculous, a testament to the idea that even in a world that often seemed chaotic and devoid of meaning, there was a hidden order waiting to be discovered. The doctor's evolution was complete. He had embraced the uncertainty, accepted the responsibility, and found his own unique way to contribute to the harmony of the universe. He was a protector of the fragile balance, a quiet servant of the greater good, and he walked through the world with a new, quiet strength. The apartment was no longer a place of refuse, but a sanctuary, a laboratory of existence where the impossible was rendered possible, and where every day was an op will get arrested next time. Doctor, I will sign anything. Cooperate in any way All right, maybe I will have another chat with him. A longer one. See if did you hear that? What? There was something about Sorry, it was nothing. I do not know what I was thinking. I will call you as soon as I can. Thank you very much. Activity could be a problem. Acid rain is affecting the northern lakes even more than scientists. Mr. Witherspoon, go away. I am not home. It is Dr. Sinclair. I was here last week. You remember? Sorry, I was not home last week either. Mr. Witherspoon, I could legally force you to open this door to me. Is that what you want? You are a curious one. Odd, you mean? I mean nosy. I am paid to be nosy. Curious, really? Do you not think that is odd? Most people are curious for nothing. That is very nice for you. Are the hours good? Mr. Witherspoon, why do you collect dolls' heads, shoes, paper clips? I cannot afford Rembrandts. What? Oh no. Oh no. As usual, it has been lovely. Please do not call again. I may have to. The next time it might not be so lovely, you understand what I mean, Mr. Witherspoon. Would you not rather invite me in of your own free will? You must. You must. Be very, very careful where you walk. How is it, Cloushade? It is very interesting, Mr. Witherspoon. What is it? This? Yes. This is the only thing that keeps the world from going poof. Now, let me understand you clearly, Mr. Witherspoon. You say that this is what keeps the world from going poof. And it is not easy. Most things are nearly impossible to find. Where would you look for a skate key? Oh, I cannot imagine. I found one, though. You think that is crazy? Well, you would not by any chance have a business card, would you? Oh yes, of course. That was an easy one. Well, I will not take up any more of your time. I have seen more than enough. I used to be an engineer, earned lots of money. Then I retired. Worst mistake I ever made. Life was so damned boring. And then the voice spoke to me. Oh, you also hear voices. You too? Please tell me about it. I was sitting in the park one day feeding the pigeons and suddenly, there it was. The voice. Edgar, it said. Have you ever been to England? Oh yes, why? No, that is what the voice asked me. Edgar, it said. In the heart of Big Ben, there is a pendulum that tells the clock how fast to tick. At the bottom of the pendulum, on top of the big weight, there is a stack of pennies. Every so often, they take one off. The clock speeds up, or they put one on. The clock slows down. The pennies change the balance just a little, but enough to keep the whole mechanism running perfectly. So what you have here is some kind of clock. Of course not. Why would I build a clock? $3, any drugstore, does not lose 10 seconds in a year. Anyway, the voice said, Edgar, the world is a funny place. Little wars here, big wars there, volcanoes going off, storms, tornadoes, a terrific amount of noise and bother. You have to build something that will keep the world from going too far, maybe even going poof. What the pennies do for Big Ben, this does for the world. Who do you think it is who is speaking to you? Well, sometimes I think it is God, and then I think, no, God would have a deeper voice. Would you care for a prune, doctor? Oh, no, thank you. I was just leaving. But you have just arrived. Oh, careful. I have no idea how the thing works. All I know is that the voice tells me what it needs, and I get it. Goodbye, Mr. Witherspoon. You keep up the good work. We could call it a sculpture. Would that make my niece happy? What? Oh no. If you happen to run across an old tuba, would you bring it by? I need it in 2 hours. Cynthia, do not do this to me. Uncle Edgar, please. It is just for 3 days while they observe you. It is too long. It has to be maintained, kept in balance. Mr. Witherspoon, you hear voices. That is not normal. You must understand that. You hear voices, too. No, healthy people do not hear voices. You hear mine, do you not? That is not the same thing. Why? What is the difference between a sane man hearing a crazy voice and a crazy man hearing a sane voice? Maybe the truth is somewhere in the middle. You do not understand the risk you are taking. I knew it. There goes Tatoa. What is Tatoa? A tiny island in the South Pacific. What time is it? 3:17? At 3:17 in the afternoon, Tatoa became history because of you. Please, weather is still time. It will take me days to clean up this junk. Keep her away from it. Remember Tatoa, classic Sant Coast. Tired, feeling useless, he created. Typical delusion of grandeur that he was vital to the world is survival. Poor Uncle Edgar. You will take good care of him, will you not? Mideast stalemate continues. Congress passes Transportation Act. And in the South Pacific, the tiny island of Tatoa is destroyed by a tidal wave. Details on this and all the news in an hour. Did he say Tatoa? Yes, the number for the Chronicle, please. Thank you. Hello, I want to check on a news story. I just heard something on the radio about a tidal wave destroying an island. Yes, that is it. Are there any details? 1,000. Really? When this afternoon? I mean, exactly what time? Thank you. Miss Walker. Yes, doctor. Tatoa was destroyed at 3:17 this afternoon. Is that bad? Last week, Santa Barbara was hit by an earthquake. I am not taking any chances. Oh my God, the landlady. She will destroy it. Santa Barbara? Get Mr. Witherspoon released immediately. Drive him home. You personally as fast as you can. Do not touch the thing. You did not, did you? You have not touched anything or moved anything. Not yet. Why? Because this is the creation of a disordered mind. And by studying it, analyzing it just exactly as he left it, I can come to a deeper insight into Mr. Witherspoon's problem. He is a loony. What else do you have to know? No. It is not that simple. I cannot rent this place with garbage in it. All right, I will rent it. You? Yes. I will give you double what you are getting. I will be up later with the check. Thank you, Mrs. Mulligan. He has escaped. Excuse me, Mr. Witherspoon. Mr. Witherspoon. Should I call the cops? No. Everything is going to be fine. You got a handkerchief? Oh, yes. Yes, right away. Thanks. That lady had me dressed so fast. I left mine behind. Mr. Witherspoon, I do not know how to begin to apologize. Nothing in my training had prepared me for a case like yours. Well, nice meeting you. Where are you going? Away finally after 11 years. But what about tough? The voice spoke to me while I was in your hospital. It said, Edgar, have you ever been to Miami? I said no, but I used to think it would be a nice place to retire. Go for it, the voice said. You are off duty. You mean all this is not necessary anymore? Sure it is. It is absolutely essential. The world still has to be kept in balance. So who is going to? And look, it needs adjusting already. That is it. Now, if I can just get a ping-pong ball in there by 7:13. Well, I guess we solved that little problem. I would get cracking if I was you. Impossible. I refuse. Jeremy, really, you will grow to like it. Give it a chance. So long. Do not take any wooden nickels. Unless you really need them, of course. Mr. Witherspoon. No, a tambourine. I have to find a tambourine right away. Can you help me? Do you know where I can find a tambourine? If in the next few months you notice that there has been a spate of catastrophes, or things are just not going right, remember that Edgar Witherspoon is replacement. Is learning how to make some precise adjustments. Do not worry. His education will not last long. And then you will have a chance to make a difference. Perhaps you might give thanks to a physician whose practice extends to the well-being of the entire planet. Dr. Jeremy Sinclair offers a unique form of preventative medicine, found only in the Twilight Zone. The morning sun filtered through the dusty